And we are live. Hello, Christie.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good.
We met at GTC a
Yeah,
couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 or 4 now. And so, how was it? How do you find it?
I found it good. I think like to me, what I liked most about GTC was, well, I got to meet a bunch of great people, such as yourself. Um,
Thank you.
I prefer those events for honestly getting to meet people and, you know, interact with other people in the field. So that's great. Um, in terms of the presentations and things, the ones that I liked best were I liked Coca-Cola's presentation on like digital twins because they have a lot of advertising pizzazz, I guess. So it was very engaging, and they had a lot of like videos and walked through the whole process, which was really cool. And I also liked the Quantum Day, just because it was interesting to get more of an understanding of, we've been hearing about quantum computing for a while.
Yep.
I had always been hearing that, you need to run these computers, these quantum things at like absolute zero in these like highly controlled scientific environments. So in my mind, it's always been like, how are we going to do anything with that really practically?
No,
But it
not
seems
around the
like
corner.
now,
Yeah.
yeah, they're turning the corner. They have like, they're saying how they're going to have QPUs that kind of plug into ecosystems with CPUs and GPUs, and they would be used for very specific use cases, and they don't need to run at absolute zero. So it seems like it's starting to become more tangible, but I guess we'll see in the next couple years.
And
Yeah.
where do you see that in your line of business? So first of all, briefly, what is your line of business? And everybody talks about AI, but we will get to that later. Quantum computing. When and where do you see it coming?
Yeah. Well, I'm not the expert on quantum computing. I guess just briefly, my background is in product. So I guess the business side. I have a degree in design and I have a degree in computer engineering management, I guess, to kind of compensate for my lack of a real CS degree. But I've worked as a data engineering manager. I'm working now as like a product manager for, head of product for data and AI intensive healthcare communications and advertising solutions. But in terms of quantum, yeah, I'm not the expert there, but it seems like the use case for the quantum computers and QPUs, it's kind of like the same thing with the way they outlined it. It's a little bit more the same thing as it was with CPUs and GPUs. Like a GPU is not always going to be, better than a CPU. It really depends on what you're using it for. So, like a GPU is better for, deep learning and like those sorts of use cases, whereas other use cases, the CPU works fine. It seems like with the QPUs, the quantum stuff, it seems a little more niche to the advanced calculations that, maybe trying to find a specific gene or trying to build a specific drug, those sorts of things where the calculations would take, years on more traditional platforms. Yeah, that's what I gathered. I think it will still be revolutionary once that kind of rolls out, but I think the areas where it'll have an impact will be more specific, and probably more industry specific. Again, just based on my grasp of what they kind of walked us through.
Yeah, my impression and feeling is the same. However, if it was, the when was more in decades previously, now we might be a little bit closer. Again, as you said, maybe only in some niches. So back to GTC. Yeah, it was a fun experience. Met a lot of people, and this was my first time. Was that your first time?
My first time at GTC. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, from people that have been attending for years, I heard that this one, I mean, it's getting less and less technical and more about, about the business and about AI. Lots of AI presentations, right? Lots of companies dicing and slicing AI in a lot of different ways. Orchestration around AI, fine tuning, RAG, etc. Um, how do you see that going forward? Do you think all those startups will survive, or maybe the giants will eat those niche markets slowly?
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting time. And like, I was just at another conference yesterday in Chicago, and I was talking to someone at one of these SaaS startups, and like, I guess he was saying how there's been some rumor that like SaaS is going to like die basically with some of these things. I think that's a little extreme, but like there are definitely now benefits to building stuff in house. And I think more like what we were actually talking about is more the value of some of like setting up more of the infrastructure, or maybe like the infrastructure as a service for things like ISO, GDPR, HIPAA compliance, and making that all more easy to do and less of a manual heavy overhead. Because, personally, I know a lot about this stuff. I definitely want to be compliant. Security and all that is a priority for the stuff that I work on, but it would really be nice to not have to think about that on on a day-to-day basis. Like to just get to a place where there's more of a system for the core infrastructural things, the core security things, and then you can kind of build more effectively in there.
Does it
But I'm
take a
going
lot
off,
of your
yeah.
time?
Well, I mean, when you're going through an audit, it takes a lot of time, and it's important to have processes in place. And a lot of these security guidelines and things are standardized. So I just think we were actually talking about how there's not a lot of solutions for sort of, I want to say automating that, but I guess like making it more ubiquitous is part of your like something you don't need to like stand up a whole manual process for yourself, something that's a little bit more just baked in to the whole process.
And you think that the AI might help in that?
I think AI could help in that. Yeah, you could have AI that understands, I mean, you could have LLMs and things that like understand different policies and things and can basically like audit different steps of your whole process. And I think just help better facilitate some of that. I guess I'm deviating a bit from your original question, but like,
Yeah.
it's a really crazy time because now it's kind of like the build versus buy decisions are kind of up in the air for certain things, right? Secondly, you can now do with AI, you can now do with a 10-person company what you used to need a 100-person company for. So, we've seen this explosion of startups, and I don't think that's going to be slowing down. I think everything's going to continue to be like exploding more and more and more. But then it becomes so saturated with different things. Yeah, it's just it's a little bit of a crazy time. So like I've heard everything from like SaaS is going to die to I've also been thinking, I mean, if it doesn't die, like how do you differentiate yourself from all these different startups that are doing the same things? Does it actually become more about advertising? Because like
Yes.
the barrier
Getting the
to
attention. Yeah.
getting the attention is now going to be the problem. Like it used to be building the thing that was more hard, and now it's like the barrier to entry for that
Yeah.
is so low. It's really more, getting the following than anything else. So it's just a very disruptive time for sure. It's interesting to see where things will go, but I don't know what I'm curious. Do you have? I've been like, I'm always on a stream of consciousness, but I'm curious if you have thoughts on where we're heading.
Oh, into that direction. So I am an engineer. I have built infrastructure most of my life. So the databases, in-memory databases, and tools for developers. So I'm not the usual engineer. I am one step below in the stack. I build infrastructure, and now And now I see this explosion of startups, and I was thinking that would die relatively soon.
Oh yeah.
And maybe it's like you remember at the beginning of the century or the millennium when there were a lot of companies doing websites for you, right? Because it was the
Right.
new thing. And then they died, and what's left? 3, 4, 5 players. I don't know how
Yeah.
many there are, right? There are just a few. Um, so, and I think that the big ones will eat the market, will eat the niches. So the difference will be for AI, who owns the data? So you are
Yeah.
pharma, you are IoT, you are whatever, oil and gas. If you have your own data, or if you have the data, then ChatGPT cannot outcompete you, right? So one thing is the data, clean, and usable data. And then there is power and nanometers, because now they build these chips with 2 nanometers. The width or the size of the silicon atom is 0.3, 0.4 nanometers.
Hmm.
So we arrived, there's a wall over there. There's a wall.
Right.
Maybe another iteration or two, and then we are done. So what's next after that? Because you can grow the chip in size a little, but you are done, right? You remember Jensen saying, we want to build this, but we can build only a chip like that.
Right.
So power is another metric, because power, they consume, a number of megawatts. I mean, a small cluster, a decent cluster is what, 6 megawatts. It's something crazy, and that something needs to be done, because the amount of energy is not infinite. You cannot build, nuclear power plants fast enough. So I don't know. And so on that side, I see another wall. The wall for silicon size, a wall for power,
And data. Yeah.
and data. So data, clean data. Clean data will be the differentiator. But as you, I thought that attention, because the number of human beings is always the same, right? It is slowly
Hmm.
rising. So it's 8 billion. Those have access to technology like this is what, 2, 3 billion, something like that, 4. So how do you get the attention of, of Christie, of Benedetto, of John, of Mary when they are on the, on the train, on the subway in the morning, going to work? We only have those amount of minutes, right, that we look at the phone, and hopefully that amount goes down over time. But it's a fixed amount. So how do you get people attention? I don't know. This is a question for you. I have no idea. I'm not in advertising. I know that you guys rule the world, but I don't understand how.
Yeah. No. And I mean, well, maybe I will segue into that because I think it's relevant. I do just want to say on the whole moat, building a moat and having having your own data. One of the interesting talks that I saw yesterday was Tomorrow IO, and they have all this real-time weather data and they have their own satellites.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
and that was just really interesting to me because, like, to your point, like they have a much better real-time weather, you know, data source that they're building out. And they're partnered with NASA and all these things. And so yeah, the value there is kind of obvious. But I mean, I think we're taking the same approach. So I've recently started a new role. I worked for 2 years at a management consulting company, and then I worked at another 6 years at a large healthcare company. And as of about 3 months ago, I joined IPG Health as SVP of
Congratulations.
yes, thanks, as SVP of product for 90 North. Um, and it's really exciting here. We have like a really great team.
90 North.
Um, yes.
What is 90? Can you explain that in a few words?
Yeah, so IPG is a big corporation that owns a bunch of different advertising and communications companies, and IPG Health specifically focuses on like healthcare communication. So like, pharmaceuticals, any like medical devices, any really like any healthcare oriented communication kind of falls into the wheelhouse of IPG health.
Okay.
Um,
You went black
all
and
of
white
the
for a moment, but now you're back in color. I don't
I'm
know.
back in color. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my
So when you
camera.
say that IPG owns a bunch of communication companies, that's interesting because so I assume that some of them they are not fused together in a big corporation. They maintain their own individualities.
Autonomy. Yeah, and I actually kind of like that coming from a highly centralized IPG is large, but to your point, it's kind of it's a network of different agencies and things.
Do you know why they do that?
Well, I think a lot of different agencies like have united under the. I mean, I don't entirely know. I'm relatively new to the
Okay.
field, but there are opportunities to share certain. I mean, for one, we have like kind of the administration, like HR, those sorts
Yeah,
of
yeah,
functions
yeah.
are kind of wrapped up in one place. It centralizes resources and things. And I think it just strengthens, it adds more strength than being like a standalone small boutique agency to be part of this network. I assume it's kind of the best of both worlds in that you have a degree of autonomy, but you have, kind of a larger company and backbone there to provide more stability and support, right?
Yeah, probably it's much better for the people that work there, right? Having kind
Yeah.
of working in a small company, but I doubt they decided that for the sake of the employees, but probably there is some, maybe it's just because they do a better performance. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. So 90 North is.
So 90 North is a company inside of IPG Health, and we're pretty much, I'd say, probably the only one that's not really like a creative agency. We are more of a in-house dev shop. We build like AI-driven products and platforms that the IPG Health creative agencies can use and benefit from.
Oh,
So
interesting.
it's pretty interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And to the point, like on the whole moat thing, that is something, my boss Jack has brought up. Like, we have data sources that we have bought that are, again, like to the point on like what's the benefit of a network. So we have data sources that we have bought that are like quantitative, like claims data, like
Yeah.
de-identified data, also like conversational data, that sort of thing. Like trying to come up with more of a centralized database that we can pull insights from that benefit the different agencies. The agencies also bring their own data to us for different projects, and that's handled like differently on the project by project basis. But yeah, we've kind of like been building up a centralized data strategy and resources to help power the agencies. That's pretty great because obviously, to your point, like the data is one of the key differentiating factors.
Yeah, if we are using all the same AI models, more or less, right? What differentiates us is the data and cleaning the data, because as you might have found when you do AI or ML in general, you need it's not just hey, here's my data. If you clean it, you
Yeah.
need to clean and process. We recently have a client that wanted to do AI on their data, and we started talking, and most of their data is on paper.
Okay.
It's not digital. So I say, okay, you might need a few steps before you reach AI. Anyway, so your role is product. So you define the AI data pipeline, the AI tools that are going to be used by the other agencies in IPG.
Yeah, and sort of like, so actually, like when I joined, there's actually a number of really cool products that they already sort of had that were in an MVP kind of state.
Okay.
So we have like products for living personas, living journeys, and that's basically where we're taking, let's say, claims data, like again, quantitative data, as well as more qualitative data, like conversational data and things. We're running that through models to really find differentiable narratives, like actually find real patient pain points. Like let's say you have, for instance, let's say we're trying to help with a psoriasis campaign, particularly, and to like the relevance of a particular type of drug to psoriasis. Like we would be trying to understand, okay, what are the major pain points? And let's say we're trying to communicate maybe to patients, and then maybe we also want to build out some personas communicating to doctors. We're going to be processing all of this information with the AI to understand, okay, like what are the biggest pain points that patients are having with psoriasis? And a lot of that's going to be like obvious in the traditional kind of sense. So we're really looking for nuance, like statistically significant nuance to, you know, find key things where maybe, I don't know, maybe patients have a perception of one type of drug over another that's maybe not correct. And like, so then maybe it's more about informing, like, for instance, maybe there was a previous version of types of drugs that like didn't perform as well. And now like there's newer versions that actually will be a lot more likely to solve their problem than like what they're currently on. It's like, okay, so then how do we help craft messaging around that? But like really we're looking to leverage the data to pull out unique, I wouldn't just say novel, because it does need to be significant, but like unique insights into what is really impacting the end patients on the ground or the end doctors on the ground in terms of you know, how to cure this, well, how to cure or improve their treatment plan, how to cure a disease or improve their treatment plan or get the best outcomes, overall through their treatment journey, essentially.
Okay. So I suppose you are also able to, or maybe interested in finding correlations on the demographic and geography, like, you know, people under 30s in this part of the city or the country, maybe it's cold there, they have different problems that the ones living, I don't know, in California or Florida.
Yeah, and I mean, like we have, and what I love about working here too is like, I will just say, sorry, we do have that going on. What I love about working at IPG is, and I guess perhaps in like more of the advertising creative space than where I was before, is everyone's really smart and creative, and there's all these different perspectives that are coming together. So where I'm riffing off that, I guess, is like we have a really great behavioral science team. We have a really great data science team. And yeah, to your point, we do have another product that we're working on. It's like a GeoView kind of tool to help like map out like different psychographics and things across an actual map. Yeah.
Is that a word? Oh, I never heard about that. Psychographic.
Yeah. Well, different, I guess, like mapping out different types of AI-driven segmentation across the geographic space. Maybe understand where particular, like maybe pain points for a particular drug or a particular disease are more concentrated in one area over another. You know, maybe, you know, communication, you know, they always say like communications about certain diseases and things in more rural places versus, you know, cities. There might be like less information or less coverage of maybe like more rare diseases and specific diseases in more rural locations. So like, I think diving into more of those types of things. Yeah, and it's pretty cool to see it visualized on a map, obviously.
Oh, it is. I would love to see them. Maybe I think I don't want to dive too much on the tech side, but you know, I'm a nerd. So do you know if you use, and can you say if you use AI more on like cleaning the data or finding the correlations? Because it seems to me that your problems, once you have very clean data, seems like a traditional ML job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But probably you don't have, you know, if you have conversational data, if you have a lot of deeply unstructured data, you cannot run ML on that. So do you know if you use AI only for cleaning or also to find the correlations?
Right. No, I mean, well, our data engineering and data science team could speak to it better, but I do know high level. Yeah, like it's primarily like correlations and like labeling, but there is a lot of data processing. We're building out more and more of a platform for the standard data sources that we're kind of building that moat around at the heart of, I guess, like IPG Health, essentially. But then we also have like customers bringing data for particular projects and things that's handled in a different way. There's a lot of like manual processing of that's happening right now to clean up some of that, because like when you get bring your own data sort of situations,
Yeah.
we get data in all different sorts of formats and things. But to your point, that's something I've been talking with data engineering about, and I'm interested to see how we can streamline more of that. But right now it's pretty, for those specific use cases, it's much more processing heavy work. Not so much AI for that though, mostly people work.
Really?
Yeah.
On the cleaning side, let's call it cleaning.
Well, a little bit of both, because at the end of the day, I mean, all of these projects are still very like high-end, bespoke, high-touch projects. We're not really here to, there's value in there's a lot of value in the creative teams that are bringing these ideas and solutions to life, right? Like we're really there to help. And it's very high touch. It's like consulting, major consulting projects with clients to build out comprehensive advertising and communication strategies. So what we're really there to do is to, create more value for the investment, create more data-driven insights, and bring more innovative and different, more innovative and differentiable outcomes for the customers, and obviously to drive more ROI than they would be getting otherwise by using these data-driven kind of solutions. So, yeah.
You've been here 3 months, right? In this new role.
Yes.
What happened? You came in the first day, new world, new company, new technology. How do you handle this, these big changes?
Yeah, so I like to kind of jump right into the deep end, honestly, and try and absorb as much as quickly as possible and hit the ground running, so that I can, because things take time. So the faster you can get to learn and know things, the faster we can, get going, really. So I think the first two key things that I did that were impactful and were helpful in getting me up to speed and also aligning the team a bit more would be, so first of all, I worked with the team to map out the current state of the top 5 products that we have. Because a lot of those things were MVPs. They had started to scale, but there's more stabilization and scaling that we needed to do, right?
Okay.
So map out those products and sort of the processes that go into supporting those products.
Map out how? Reading all the
A
documents.
Miro board. So we had a Miro board, a diagram of a process flow. Because again, for us, we're using these products to facilitate projects with our customers. A lot of the projects we have will take anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple months. And the AI kind of outputs fold into some of the deliverables that are happening during those engagements. But how do you map
out this process on the map? Or you are new, you don't know anything, right? So do you go bother people and try to get to the how do you get the information?
Yeah, so yes, I bother people. So
you physically take them, you drag them, nicely to the to the a physical board, or maybe to in front of your
Yes.
computer.
Yes, a virtual board.
A virtual board, and then you say them, okay, tell me everything you know about X, or something
Yeah.
like that, right? And then you
Yeah.
go get the second guy and the third guy and the fourth lady
Exactly.
or whatever, and so put yourself in the shoes of these people, right? You have a
Right.
new manager, new boss in town. You come with me. Tell me everything you know about that. How did you manage that? I mean, was that easy? Were they happy, or were they bothered by you?
Both. I mean, I think empathy kind of goes a long way. And like, I think when you show up as a new person, like it's important be to be making the assumption that, you know, well, for one, everybody's adults and everybody is doing their job. Make the assumption everybody knows their job and is doing it well and has the
Yeah.
skills. Like I'm the new person here, but I would proactively ask folks. I'm like, things are probably going to be a little chaotic the next 2 weeks when I first joined, and
You said that?
I understand that, and I'm asking you you're going to get a little uncomfortable,
Okay.
but I'm asking you to bear with me because it's going to be fruitful in the end.
And was
And
it?
yeah, I did after the fact. I mean, after we got through the process about 2 or 3 weeks later, I talked to some folks on the ground to see how they're feeling. And,
They were happy.
one of the lead engineers was like, well, it was a little, we were a little uncomfortable and a little confused, right? Like 2 weeks ago, but like now I really understand where we're going with this. So I think it's like having trust, but also kind of asking for their trust, just getting through a process, and not taking too long to do it.
That's
Yeah.
not always, but it was beneficial for both you and the team, and the fact that they recognized it was great. It's not always easy to take the time and explain to the engineers what they are building, why they are building, how that fits in the bigger picture, especially for very big companies. It did not happen for me most of the times in big companies, especially because, I mean, you figured it out, right? You work in a place
Yeah.
6 months, a year, 2 years. You figure out at the end why you're building that, right? But it's not clear at the beginning. So, okay, so first 2-3
Well,
weeks you map out. Yes.
yeah. Well, sorry, and just like, and I'm sorry, just ripping off of that, but like map out the whole thing on the ground. That's the first part. But to your point on like the why we're doing this,
Yeah.
I do think the other important thing that I do think built some trust while I was also doing the on the ground mapping out of everything that's happening with everybody was bringing everybody together for a session on like, what is our vision? What is our mission? Where are we going with this? Right. And to have that be a collaborative session with the whole team so that the whole team is really owning the vision and the mission. I've talked to engineers before. I'm like, so what are you doing? And then they explain what they're doing. And it's like, well, why are you doing this? And it's like, well, because Alex told me to do this or whoever told me to do this. Right. And then I'm like, yeah, but like, why, and one engineer told me once, I'm just a milkman. And that kind of like cracked me up a bit, but I'm like, you're not. Like, I want you to be part of the strategy. I want the whole team to own the strategy. This is a team sport. You're not just cogs in a machine, So taking the time with the team to have everybody write out vision and mission statements. We voted on those statements. We used that to define the vision and the mission for our group.
You voted.
Yes.
Talk to me about that, because we might be in disagreement here. So who voted who voted on what?
The whole team. So we all wrote out mission statements.
Missions,
and then we had
for the team.
Like we all wrote out vision statements, and then we did vision, and we all voted on those. And then we all wrote out mission statements and voted on those.
So
and
just to be clear, vision is where you want to be and
Mhm.
the what's the other one? The mission. It's how you get there, or something like that.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, they're pretty closely related. It gets didn't get so much into like the objectives, but they're
Mm-hmm.
both like the higher level kind of, yeah, statement. The vision is more where we want, to your point, the vision is more where we want to be, and the mission is kind of like the, I guess, why behind what we're doing, right?
Both the vision and the missions aren't they coming down from the business? I mean, you cannot define your own objectives or missions, right? I mean, you build tools, AI tools, data tools for the other agencies in IPG, right? You cannot say, oh, from today my mission is to build satellites, things like that.
Well, and I will say, to your point, like, I mean, it seems like it could go off course, but at the same time, it is like somewhat obvious, right? What we're doing and why we're doing it. But like, I think putting a little more thought behind it, So like
Mm.
giving some examples, you know, I kept it pretty open. The team had been there doing this stuff longer than me. It's not like we were starting from like day one. Um, but the vision and the mission statements that they came up with were very on point with, for the most part, were very on point with what we were doing. And like, we did some like grouping of like, you can do like, we kind of just voted because honestly, they were on point enough and we got to a good output from that. But I would say like, if it's something that is a little bit more of a struggle, the way to sort of like, put some guardrails on that would be to like do a second pass of like aggregating the different ideas from the team into different blocks and then going through more of an iteration to compose the statements. That's another way of doing it
Okay.
that works well, particularly when I think the vision and the mission is maybe a lot less clear. I think overall we got to a pretty good point, but also like some folks on the team had been doing stuff have been working there for a while. There have been, the team was relatively new. It was formed out of other initiatives and things that had happened in the past. So I think really just, even though some of it is a little bit obvious, I think really just taking the time to step back and look at it from a higher level view as a group and level set, like, why are we actually doing this? Because once people have been working for a while, sometimes they just can get very into the tactics of doing
Yeah.
things and lose sight of like the bigger picture, right? Like, why are we doing this? Because that's also going to be important for prioritizing work
Yes.
and
Yes.
prioritizing where
Yes.
we're going. And it helps the team realize that the things that we're prioritizing are based on that vision and mission, and kind of connecting the dots between where we are now. So like the map of everything that we put together and the like where we're trying to go. So like where we are now is point A, where we're trying to go is point C. How do we get to point B and what is that going to look like? And that gets into your quarterly planning and all of that.
Yeah.
So
It seems a good exercise, the one that you did, involving the entire team and aligning the knowledge and the awareness. And yeah, you're right. Sometimes engineers, they drift off. They get used to do something, and they just think about the code, right? So I had an accident a few weeks ago. We are building a tool, an AI tool. I think it will be open source in a few weeks. It's an infrastructure tool, and anyway, we're talking about a feature, whether to do it or not, or a couple of features, and one of the engineers said, "Oh, we can't do this because nobody will use it." I said, "Wait. You cannot take product decisions based on your experience, right? The question is not will it be used or not. The question is which part of the market or the audience will benefit from this feature, and then you characterize that maybe it's a niche, maybe it is too small, or maybe it's interesting to us, right? It's AI is such a huge field that even if 0.5% of the audience needs that feature, We are a small company, right? We might benefit from that. Anyway, so yes, I often have to take out engineers from the technical context and show them, we are making a product. We have some idea of who will benefit that, but product requirements,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, they drive your requirements, right? It's not that we are not
Right.
going that feature because if the product says that we need to do, I don't know, a command line tool in C++, and you like Python, it's not that we are going to use Python because you like it. There are reasons why we chose C++ and blah blah blah. Anyway,
Do you
so
mind?
it's always cool, but I guess if you are in an environment where you can say no or you can ask a question, why are we doing this? I don't like this. And it
Yeah.
happens, right? And the engineers say, why are we doing this? It looks crazy. And then you talk to them and you explain, product and business and say, oh, but I liked it. I like to be challenged because for once, I'm the product, often, not always, I'm the product guy. And I think it's good, right? When someone can come up to you and say, "Hey, Christy, why are we doing this? It doesn't make sense."
Right. No, and I mean, I guess, and sorry, I was just thinking about some of what you were saying. I do also like, everybody kind of has like their job to some extent, but I do like to, it's good to get input and feedback and pull in folks from different disciplines to get their thoughts because also just working within one function, working within one mindset, you end up sometimes not seeing opportunities or just not seeing things that others would see. So that's one thing. And then I guess speaking to like some of the example you gave, I'm curious, do you guys have like, do you do like kind of like an impact versus like, how do you prioritize things? Like if someone, and maybe like me working on products, I want to come to engineering, design, the different stakeholders and try and get a well-rounded understanding of the effort. And like on the front end, also on the front end, trying to understand the impact of a feature, right? So like working with the team to kind of prioritize things by like the ratio of impact versus effort. Because I do see teams where it's just you have a product team and they're like, we want this thing, build it. And it's not, that's to me, that's not a good way of
Yeah. So
prioritizing things, really.
how to answer this question? So let me give you a
I don't
picture
want
of
to
my
put you too
company, right?
much on the spot, but yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't have any problem. But so my company is much smaller than yours, right? My company is
Right.
what, 100 people, 200 people. We have
Yeah.
our main business is a consulting branch. And when I say
Okay.
consulting, please do not think about Accenture and IBM and all this thing, okay? We have very hardcore engineering. We help Microsoft on crucial projects for, I don't know, 15 years or more, maybe 20. We have a product, we have an in-memory database that we built compatible with Redis. We do everything from kernel to the cloud. We build data pipelines. We build AI pipelines. I used to build pipelines with Expedia. I've been there when I was a principal engineer, and we built a pipeline for lodging to match for the pricing engine. I mean, we do a lot of stuff. So we have the consulting branch, which is big or bigger than the other. We have the memory database product, and then we have like a small R&D department, or we have R&D projects. I drive two of them at the moment, maybe three. And so these R&D projects are very tactical because so we have a lot of skills. We have a lot of we have very talented devs. We pride ourselves, at least I do, with a hiring pipeline which is amazing because we go find talent in remote villages in Europe where you have these kids that come from good universities. They do Olympics in mathematics, in physics, in international coding competitions and things like that. So back to your point. So we have these small R&D projects. We are in AI. We know. So we see pockets of opportunities. We do 2 projects in the vector semantic search areas, right? We see opportunities and we target them. So for now, these are small projects that where we technically we see a small gap, and the investigation probably on the ROI that you ask is it's not as deep as the one that you or your company might do, just because there's not enough people, right? So we see something, I see something, or someone else sees something. We talk among us. We maybe ask to our clients. We have a lot of clients on both consulting branch and the database, and we see, oh, you know what, there might be an opportunity here. And then we build something minimal. What we are building now are 2 MVPs that we want to go out with, fully open source, and then see if there is any traction in the community. And there is in the traction, in one of more industries, we will add features to those industries. Essentially, there's a bunch of us who are very, very, very technical, very good at writing code, a lot of experience on massive systems, and a little bit of experience on the product side. So, and did I answer your question?
What?
Partially.
It makes
Oh, you froze.
I'm getting at too is like just coming into this new role, like with all of these kind of, I won't say they're MVP, maybe a little past that stage, like version 1 products, essentially bringing them more into one insights platform as part of like Epic, which is this big project we're working on. Bringing them into kind of one insights platform, overhauling them, making them more stable, scaling them. That's kind of my first prerogative. But then some of what you're talking about is, I'm excited once we're kind of through that initial piece to build out also like more of our R&D work stream with some of our product folks, some of our data science folks, and have kind of I guess I like ops and I like processes and like making team processes and DevOps processes efficient. So like building out an R&D work stream where we can put out prototypes of different things based on, we'll have like some kind of R&D backlog of ideas coming from our internal customers as well as our team. And like, I think the best ideas kind of still trying to.
You have an advantage. You have an advantage over me. You have a big set of internal customers, the other agencies in IPG, that they cannot say no to you, right? Or actually, they come to you with requests or with needs, and you need to fulfill them, right? So you have but do you also build products, or are your products accessible outside IPG or not?
Not at this point, no. And I don't know I don't know yet the future there. We're mostly focused, on internal at this point. I think to build something SaaS and that sort of thing, that would require a much bigger team and like more support. We're kind of, if that were to ever be a thing, that would be in the distance. Right now, like, and again, the mission, coming back to the vision and the mission of our group, it's really to empower the advertising, creative, user experience strategists that are working on these creative strategies and campaigns. Okay. Less so than to create solutions for, end customers. We really want to empower the IPG agencies. So but they have a bunch of different, they have a bunch of different ideas. So like just handling all of the different requests and things is a challenge. We also have ideas. So that's what I'm also trying to build out now, is more of a backlog of the different ideas that we can then prioritize based on, again, with this many different ideas coming in, like you do need to have a way of prioritizing the best ones based on kind of the potential impact and the amount of effort. Obviously, anything that's high impact, low effort is going to be our first priority, and we can feed that into our R&D work stream. The team can build up some prototypes, and then if they're successful, we can carry them over into like the full production grade product work
Does
stream.
it ever happen to you that there are many high impact projects that you would like to do and you cannot do because you don't have enough people? Could it happen?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like right now there's like, even with the products that we have, there's so many cool products that are kind of already there that we're bringing in. I feel like there's so much work, and that's kind of why I'm excited, because like there's some things that are doing really well that people really love. People love the living personas, they love the living journeys. There's some other products that they like as well. So those are kind of the obvious ones to fold in, and it's like we have a ton of work just to bring them all into one platform and then enhance them with additional data sources and additional features. And then there's a whole bunch of ideas that our team has and that the customers have that we haven't even started building.
So as you fade in and out from black and white and color, I guess it's the
I
theme
don't
for
know
today.
what kind of feature that is of this computer.
No, it's okay.
But it's not great.
Don't worry. So as you do that, speaking about mission and advertisement, my company does that. We accelerate other companies' projects, and when they are in trouble, because we have very talented people and a lot of knowledge. So, free advertisement for my company. I'm not charging you here, Johnny Assistance, but if you ever feel that you are in that situation where you have a lot to do but not enough people, and you need some extra help for I don't know, a few months or so, yeah, reach out. We are, there are smart people in this company other than me. I am an old architect at this point. Anyway, so self-promotion here.
Yeah.
What were we saying? So, yes, AI, advertisement, and data, and clean data. But there's more to Christie, right? You run a local group in Philly. You have a kind of a startup on the side. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, and actually, geez, I should look at now you're making me wonder when our next, and I should know this, I believe it's May 7th. If I can just go to Meetup, I'm so sorry. This is embarrassing.
Don't worry.
I believe it's May 7th, but yeah, so Philly Data and AI, I run with a friend of mine, Joseph Ubel. It's sponsored by IO Associates. And it's basically just a low-key data happy hour. We don't really do a ton of presentations or things like that. I've asked folks if they want presentations and things, and most of the feedback I've gotten is not so much. Like, there's a lot of meetups doing that. I think what folks like about the Philly Data and AI meetup is typically it's the same time. It's like once a month. Normally it's once a month, third Tuesday of the month at Con Murphy's in Philadelphia. I do request people sign up for the events on the meetup, though, because we always have to give them a good gauge of how many people are coming. There's 1,400 people in the group now, so it's a pretty big group. And usually we get like somewhere between 50 and 100 people showing up to the monthly events. There's a lot of repeat folks who I've become friends with in in the industry and in the local area, which is really cool. It's basically just a place to hang out with fellow like kind of nerds in like the data and AI space. We see a lot of data engineering folks, a lot of data science folks, software engineering folks, other AI enthusiasts kind of showing up at these events. just to meet other people in the industry. And I think also what I've heard from several people is that some of these folks work remotely. Maybe their company is based in New York or California or Chicago, so they don't have a base. Not all of them have a base here, and it's kind of a nice opportunity to actually mingle with real people that do similar things to them in
Yeah.
lieu of, in lieu of kind of doing that at the office. And I guess just a quick plug for that. Our next big event, like we're deviating from our typical schedule a little bit because the first week of May, I believe, is Philly Tech Week. So we're planning to have a much bigger event for that. And I'm just checking. We already have 66 people registered, but I know that's probably going to grow. And yeah, I'm looking
Okay.
forward to having a bigger event for Philly Tech Week. We're also probably going to feature a couple startups at some of the tables. More just to put a spotlight. Not, again, we don't do sponsored stuff. We don't do like a lot of advertising or anything like that. But we are really about getting to know your local nerds in the neighborhoods. So we'll put a couple of the startup folks at some of the tables so people can like get to know some of the upcoming tech that's happening in the city.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm sorry I didn't know about this because, as you know, man, it's public knowledge. I used to work for Cesium. I worked there for a couple of years, 400 Market Street, and I used to come to Philadelphia once every quarter on average. But my friends over there, I don't want to name names, but Jake, Peter, Sean, and everybody, you probably want to check out this group, this meetup, and. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of data engineering, at least in my group there at Cesium, but who knows? And
everyone's welcome.
everyone's
Really,
welcome.
it's yeah, you get your own beers, but we'll get some pizzas and stuff. And yeah, I've made a lot of friends just in the tech community from hosting and going to these events. Like the repeat folks, I've gotten to know pretty well, which is really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, and hopefully I will stop by once, the next time I come to the
Yeah.
US, and if I can stop by in Philadelphia for a few days. We'll see. We'll see. So,
Let me know when you're in town.
Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff, almost an hour. So, what did we leave out about Christie?
I don't know. It's a great question.
Anything worth mentioning?
Oh, I have a startup.
Oh, you're a startup. That's cool.
Yeah. That's a side. Well, it's more of a side project with a friend, but yeah, it's well, if you want me to plug that too, it's called Orbit. It is a AI-driven centralized contact book. So basically, the idea with it is, okay, it's a centralized app. You can connect your phone, your Gmail, your LinkedIn, whatever other connections, whatever other contact sort of source it is into this one place. It'll pull all of those connections in, deduplicate the connections, enrich the connection information, enrich the contact information essentially with data found on the web about folks, and then throw AI on top of it, essentially. So I don't like to market it really so much as a personal CRM, but it doesn't look like a CRM. It's much more of a simplified, friendly application. And like my vision and goal with it really is to be able to get the most out of your network and give the most to your network. So again, it's this centralized, enriched contact list of your connections. We have AI on top of it to do things like allow you to say who of my connections can help me get startup funding, and it'll give you a whole list, and it'll score all of your connections and explain like which ones are the best for that purpose. Which of my connections can get me on a podcast? Hopefully you would come up, right? Those sorts of things. And we want to build in more features too that are proactive, like trying to help you strengthen your connections, remind you to follow up with like people, and not just any people, but like people more relevant to recent communications, recent things that you've done. and that sort of thing. Really, overall, I like the idea of leveraging AI to drive real world human connection and interaction, because I think that's going to become increasingly important as some of the negative effects of AI kind of pervade the internet and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So can we characterize this app as a kind of a personal assistant focusing on your contacts or something like that?
Yeah,
Like
something like that. Yeah.
a proactive assistant, right?
Yeah.
That can go out and look for information. Yeah, I think we talk about that offline. So maybe it can go proactively go out and look for what they are doing and say, oh, you did a podcast yesterday with Christie, but a week ago this other contact talked about something similar. Maybe go reach out. Can you do something like that right now or in the future?
Well, not right now. Right now we have like the magic sort of search feature. That's our primary feature. And honestly, it's really only released in test flight right now. I'm working to get it hopefully released publicly in the next, I'm hoping, couple months.
Okay.
So hopefully in the early
on the
summer.
Apple Store for now, right?
On the Apple Store. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got an Android. I cannot use it.
Well, we built it in Flutter, so we should be able to deploy it for Android too. We've just prioritized iOS first, but
it's fine. I can test drive on my daughter's iPhone.
Sorry. Well, we were looking at, like, we did have some initial users that were helping us test it a while back, and they were all iOS. So like I kind of, in terms of priority, I just
speaks by itself, right? Yeah, it's
we'll come back for the Android folks. My husband's an Android person too, so I understand.
Let's create some suspense for those few watchers that we have. We will meet again in, I don't know, 6 to 9 months, in the fall, maybe. And what great news will you have for us?
6 to 9 months. Yeah. So I am hoping to, I guess, for IPG, have our kind of insights platform fully built and productionalized and stable, and to increase the usage of that and to have several new products kind of in the works. And then I guess on my personal front, well, we'll just keep rolling with the meetups. Again, those are more, we have no real objective or agenda there so much as making friends. So we'll continue with that. And then with Orbit, hopefully you'll be seeing it in the App Store, at least by that point, and maybe I can get some feedback. Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Well, maybe we can do an episode on that and see how it is going. Well, what kind of problems does it solve, and where the AI market or landscape is going. So happy to do that.
No, that'd be great.
Well, for now, thank you, Christie. It was great to to see you at GDC and to have this podcast with you. I hope to see you again. Maybe some conference, maybe in Philadelphia. Who knows? As Italian, I found a very good pizza over there, and even good coffee. I found a pizza place with the same coffee machine I have here in the office.
Oh, amazing! Yeah.
So I used to step there and say, "May I have a coffee, please?" One shot, Italian style. Okay. Well, thank you again for your time, Christie.
Yeah, let's hang out in Philly soon, or hope to see you here soon. But really appreciate the time. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you, Christie. Bye-bye.
Bye.